Shalom, giving all praise going on to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone who drew well. Peace, love, and blessings to the brothers on the highways and byways, giving all diligence to make a call in election sure. And blessings to the very few sisters listening, learning, and believing. I'm that fellow Labor Kanal Clock coming at you once again with another lesson, Lord's will, through the Spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai. Lessons edifying, also exhorting. Hey, and I'm going to get right to it, straight to the point. Basically news and prophecy. All right. Today, Kiev's attack on Russian refinery, cutting global oil supply. Kremlin. Now, if you are, I guess I would say, privy or hip to this is nothing but a proxy war. America going up against Russia. That's basically all this is. The war in Ukraine. It's America going up against Russia, a proxy war. So it says the infrastructure of, and I don't know how to pronounce this, but I'm gonna try. It's two apes, all right, which has been repeatedly attacked by Ukrainian drones. Was used for export. Spokesman Dmitry Peskov has said. All right, so Ukrainian drone strikes on Russian energy infrastructure on the Black Sea coast are worsening the global oil crunch caused by the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran and disruption in the Strait of Hormuz, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has said. So there already is a global oil crunch because of the war, as I say, the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran. So here it is now. They're hitting more infrastructure. And this is just, one incident. There's reports of this happening all over the world, all right, where oil refineries are getting hit, all right? So this is a staged energy crisis, okay? This is a staged energy crisis, as I'm going to bring out this quote, which I've been hitting on. Elder Gabar, I believe, introduced me to this years ago. All right. And now, of course, it's rumors now. But nonetheless, it's accurate. It says this widely circulated quote, often attributed to David Rockefeller at a 1994 UN Business Council event, is a staple of globalist conspiracy theories, alleging a manufactured shift toward world government as discussed. All right. It says, however, the quote is largely considered misattributed or fabricated. All right. It says, with no definite record of Rockefeller saying those specific words. But here's the quote. It says, all we need is the right major crisis and the nations will accept the new world order. All right. And all nations will be affected by this. Okay. This global energy crisis is worsening. All right, it's getting a lot worse, and as you can see, they continue to hit infrastructure. All right, here it is. Russia basically was filling that void. All right, for the Strait of Hormuz being cut off. I know definitely to India. All right, because the sanctions was lifted so that India could receive the Russian oil because the Strait of Hormuz was blocked off, so Trump allowed India to buy Russian oil, Russian energy. Okay, so I know India specifically, all right, was allowed to buy Russian energy. So here it is now, more Russian, and it's the U.S. doing it. All right, even though we know it's the elites behind the scenes, but here it is, man. They're causing energy crisis. It says multiple Ukrainian drone strikes have hit two apps. Slovakia, forgive me, that got to be a Russian pronunciation. All right. It says a key densely populated port in Russia's Krasnodar region have targeted its refinery and adjacent marine terminal. Regional Governor Veniamin Kondratyev reported fires at the site including a major blaze at the refinery, prompting evacuations of nearby residents and emergency response measures. The attacks led to high-risk air pollution, with residents advised to use respirators as an oil like it spill destroyed miles of the beach in a resort town. Kondratyev also released a video of the town filled with smoke, with a cleanup operation ongoing on the beach. All right, so you get the point. I'm not going to read all of this. Here's another key point. It says U.S.-Israeli war on Iran led to a de facto closure of the Strait of Hormuz, which handled roughly 20% of global oil consumption, sending benchmark Brent oil prices up well beyond $100 a barrel. To alleviate the pressure on oil markets, here we go, the Trump administration went so far as to issue sanctions waiver on Russian oil already at sea. Russian Foreign Minister spokesman Marie Zakharova said the attacks on Tuapse, or forgive me again, caused civilian casualties and damaged their homes, social infrastructure, and environment, and criticized a lack of NATO response from the EU and NATO. All right, so here it is. The waiver was given so that, you know, the Russian oil could basically substitute, all right, for the lost in the Strait of Hormuz. But here it is now. Kiev's attack on Russian refinery cutting global oil supply. So the energy crisis is coming, and as this quote says, all we need is the right major crisis and nations will accept the new world order. Now, this happened before in the 70s. Okay, and we're going to play this. Fair use.
Yo, I'm at this girl house, y'all.
I don't even know how that even. I had the oil video on there. Now it's no longer on there. How do they do that? All right, here we go. Derek, the comedian. Whatever, man.
The arrival of...
But fair use. All right, I'm not making any money off of this. Okay, this is for educational purposes only. All right.
New Oldsmobiles at a Texas car dealer. It's 1973 and gas is cheap. Americans grew used to cheap and abundant gasoline back then. But in the 1970s, two major crises would suddenly reveal how vulnerable America's energy supply really was. The first shock came in 1973 during a Middle East conflict. In response to U.S. support for Israel, several Arab oil-producing nations announced an oil embargo against the United States. Across America, gasoline prices surged from about 40 cents a gallon in 1973 to 55 cents by 1974, a 35% increase. Adjusted for inflation, that's around $3 a gallon today. The federal government imposed a nationwide 55-mile-per-hour speed limit designed to reduce fuel consumption. Automakers facing pressure to build smaller, more fuel-efficient cars.
So you see that control. It's 55-mile-per-hour speed limit, and it forced the manufacturers to make smaller, more fuel-efficient cars. So what's been a push? EVs. All right, electrical vehicles. That's what's been a push. So again, this could be the crisis to enter the world, this current society, into the new world order. Ultimately, putting the stamp on an NWO will be the RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast. All right, we're gonna come back to Luke 20 and 25. All this is to bring forth, all right, to lead you to this prophecy here. And then we done brought it out. We're going to keep bringing it out, man. Revelation 13 and 16. And he called it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name, which is the chip technology, biometrics technology, merging men, all right, with this technology, okay, which will give them total control. That's why they want everything to go digital, everything to go electric. All right, you get an EV, it comes with subscription software. They can cut it off. All right. They can control it. You know, all this technology is just total control. And you see the digital, everything's going digital. Once it's on that grid, they control it. All right. And you can't do nothing unless they say. This is what all this is leading to. So you see, they'll cause this major global crisis. All right. Just to fulfill what the Lord already told us that they were going to. As the scriptures say, the Lord doeth nothing but revealed his secrets unto his servants, the prophets. So, going back to this, so you saw the control. Because of this crisis, people could only drive 55 miles per hour, and then that changed the agenda for the car manufacturer. They started creating more fuel efficient cars, smaller cars. So what's the push for today? To get rid of the combustion engine and go full electric, and that will be the correct crisis. All right, to prompt that. Okay, more control.
Just a few years later, Americans faced another shock. In 1979, political turmoil erupted during the Iranian Revolution.
And what's going on right now? Iran, all right,
disrupting one of the world's largest oil exporters and dramatically cutting global supply. Many gas stations ran out of fuel. At the stations that still had fuel, cars lined up for blocks as drivers waited for a chance to fill their tanks. Gasoline jumped from an average of 63 cents a gallon to 86 cents a gallon. By 1980, it reached a high of $1.19 a gallon, about $4.50 a gallon in today's dollars. The long gas lines of the 1970s eventually disappeared, but the lessons from the oil crises of the 70s still shape America's energy debates today. Bob Buckaloo, KVUE News.
So, you know, they're just running the same play. They already, you know, seen what happened before. You know, again, it's a playbook. But this time, you know, we're living in a different time. Let me get that article here that I had. Now, we live in a time of the Messiah. So, as you see, I brought out that prophecy, Revelation 13 and 16. This is the game changer. So this crisis, all right, or this event, we're living in a time of great changes about to happen. You know, this isn't just, again, the NWO, the New World Order. All right, we're living in serious times, historical times. Most importantly, this is a time that our Lord Yahushua is about to return, all right, where all things will be fulfilled, and we're here. Okay, so this isn't just not going to be this isn't going to be your normal, all right, energy crisis. This is a change of worlds. But Esau Edom he's at his end, because as he is about to fulfill his new world order, all right, the Lord is about to make his return. And there's a video playing here. Let me see.
Would you look at that, man?
Wow, what's satisfying?
Wow.
Yeah, space flight, whatever, man. It says 2 full moons will light up May 2026, including a rare blue moon. This year will feature 13 full moons instead of the typical 12. A rare celestial lineup. All right. So definitely in the times we living in. Again, and the Lord prophesied of these. Let's get it real fast. Luke 21 and 25. All right. So this is twofold, because this is speaking about 70 AD. All right. Where the Romans sacked Jerusalem. Vespasian's son Titus. Okay, which goes to show you that the end started back then when the Messiah came on the scene. So here we are fast forwarding thousands of years later, and these things, parts all right, of these are waiting to be fulfilled. So part of it happened already. All right, Jerusalem was trodden down, the temple was destroyed, but the Messiah still hasn't returned yet. So it goes to show you. All right, the end started when he came on the scene, but now we're at the end of the end where all things are ready. Everything is prepped for him to make his grand return. The prophecies are set in place. Only thing we're waiting for is this to go digital, this crisis to worsen, whatever events they're going to bring about to help, push this thing even further. But all we need is everything to go digital, the system to collapse, and for them to implement the mark of the beast, which we just read. And World War III is here, beginning stages. And that's it, man. So we're living in beautiful times where all things are being fulfilled. Luke 21:25 says, "And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth the stress of nations with perplexity, the sea and waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken." And then right here, verse 27, "And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory." And that cloud is what they call UFOs. Okay, so here's a rare celestial lineup. Usually it's 12, but it's gonna be 13, and 13 is a spiritual number. Yahushua had his 12 disciples plus him would make 13. All right, it says, "May will bring an unusual treat for sky watchers." All right, we are the watchmen. So this is the Lord communicating with those in the know, with the initiated ones, the elect. All right, it says 2 full moons in a single calendar month, a relatively rare occurrence that happens only every few years. The first full moon, known as the flower moon, will reach its peak on May 1st. May Day. All right. So Lord willing, something go down on May 1st. That's May Day. All right. False flag. It says the name rightly reflects the explosion of spring blooms and seasonal allergies typically seen across North America this time of year. The name is rooted in traditional seasonal observations and is one of the several used historically to mark changes in nature during late spring. Peak illumination happens at 1:23 p.m. But the moon will also appear full the 2 days prior. The second full moon will arrive on May 31st. Earning the title of a blue moon because it's the second full moon within the same month. Despite the name, the moon will not appear blue. The term is tied to the calendar rather than the moon's color. All right. So you see it. As the Lord said, there will be signs in the sun and in the moon. So this is a rare occurrence. It only happens every few years. We got the energy crisis. All right, we're living in some beautiful times, man. The Lord is definitely on his way back. And shortly soon, man. Lord willing. But I'm going to leave it there. Like I said, I'll make it quick, straight to the point. You got the energy crisis. Russian infrastructure is being hit. All right. That was supposed to basically help the crunch on the oil, on the global oil, but they getting hit too. So this is all controlled. We know where it's leading. All through the spirit of power, Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Oil prices went back up today, of course. So I'll leave it there. All praises to Yahweh Shem Yahushai, Ba'ashem HaKahakodash. Double honors to Elder Apostle, Great Millstone. Peace, love, and blessings to the elect.